Oh no, he patting my head. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Sister Share 101 Share. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Hope everybody is being safe, taking your precautions, and all of that good stuff. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the election. I was at a friend's house the other night and he happened to bring up the fact, he said, "Do you ever talk politics on your platform?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a politicky kind of person. I just let the chips fall on them. May I make my voting, whatever happens, happens, but the last 4 years has been very interesting. And of course, all of you know about that. Um, our president today is a very interesting fellow, to say the least. So, with that being said, we have Trump and Biden. Now, we all know, we are familiar with Trump's record. We all know his Ivy League education didn't do too much for him. We can tell in his speech and how he carries himself and how he articulates and things like that. Um, of course, he's a businessman and he tried to run the government as a businessman. Of course, you can't run the government like you run your typical business. There's too many factors in place there. So, and then we have Biden. Biden is getting up there in age. Well, both of them are getting up there in age. Biden seemed like he's on the cusp of dementia. That's a a big issue. I don't want him to be in some type of meeting with their foreign leaders and this man forget where he is. Don't want that to happen either. So, and then Biden has been in politics longer than Trump, and he kind of know the ins and outs. And he was once the vice president, but of course, when being vice president, your hands are kind of tied up, about the things that you can do or the presidents you can push forward and all that. So you kind of tied up in that position a little bit. So my thing is, I guess you have to go with your own version of two of the lesser evils. Which one will prevail? Now let's take Trump on the other hand. Okay, so let's start with him since he is the president still in office. He's running for re-election and he's trying to convince us that he's the right guy to choose. So let's look at his record. I don't know much about what he has done, but I do remember in his campaign back in 2016, he did mention that he was going to dismantle Obamacare, come up with a new plan, and it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful. Okay, he haven't done that. I was just waiting for anybody to say, okay, yeah, he did do that. No, he did not do that. Let's see. Actually, Obamacare is still kind of in place, probably with a little tweaks to it, but it's still Obamacare. He just changed the name and changed it to something else. So anyway, so that's number one. Number two, what else did he say? Oh, building the wall. Yes, he's going to build that wall and have the Mexicans pay for it. Okay, I'm still waiting on that one too, which I kind of figured that wasn't going to go over too well. So yes, didn't do that either. What else did he? Oh, this is one of the good ones. He said, black people, your economic situation is fucked up. Your cities is fucked up. Your neighborhoods is fucked up. What else you gotta lose? Put me in there. I can't do no worse than anybody else has done. Wow, that's interesting. But to Trump's defense and to his very little minute defense, he did give money to the HBCUs now for the next 10 years. Okay, that's a good thing. So you gave money to HBCUs for the next 10 years. So what did you give to the other schools? Don't hear that. Let's see, because I know if you gave something to the HBCUs, I'm sure you funded the other schools as well that are not HBCUs, and I'll just put it that way. Throw us a bone, make us be quiet. Hey, So besides that, and don't get me wrong, that was an important move on his part because he's done nothing else for the black community. So, I guess that's a step in the right direction. He had 4 years, so hey, I mean, that's a step in the right direction. Funding the HBCUs for 10 years, so they won't have to come back and petition for more funding that they used to do every year before that. And then every year before that, when they came back to petition for funding, they always got it. It's like they never got it. It's just they had to come back every year and ask for it. So what he probably just mainly did, just cut out them coming back to ask for it and just say, okay, for the next 2 years, I'm gonna give you this money so you don't have to come back every year until your 10 years is up, and you had to come back every year after that. So he just made them have a lesser trip to come and ask for money. I think that's what that was. Just my perception of it. Okay, so you saved them a plane ticket fare. Okay, that's great. That's awesome. Awesome. All right, let's see. What else did he say in his campaign? I can't really remember everything that he promised that he was going to do, but those were the things that really stand out in my mind. Now, of course, I know I saw the presidential debate, the first one and the second one. The first one was a complete disaster. So you won't talk about that. But the second one, it had a little bit of more meat and potatoes to it. I still didn't really get to the point where either one of them said what they were planning to do in the future. I didn't get that from Biden, and I didn't get that from Trump either. What are you planning to do now, going forward? Are you going to now keep your campaign promises from 2016 going into 2021, or you're not? I don't know. I didn't hear any plans for either one of them on any of that. I didn't hear from Biden what he was planning to do. Well, Biden said that he was going to do something about the coronavirus and how it's being dealt with now. He's going to make it better. He's going to make sure that everyone has their PPE and hospitals have what they need. And, he's going to put some things in place. I don't know what the things are he's going to put in place. Is that means he's going to shut the country down for a amount of time, or he's going to limit certain things? I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear any full-fledged step-by-step protocol that he was going to take, other than I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Some of the promises Biden said was pretty far-fetched. I mean, he was saying something about raising the taxes on the wealthy and things like that. And so I'm like, if you do that, and then he was planning on raising it a pretty hefty chunk, I think about 8% from where it is now. So that poses a little issue for me. I'm not an economics major, but here's the thing. If you make a big jump in raising taxes on these companies and so forth, aren't you afraid that these companies are going to leave the United States and go into other countries where they can have a tax break and save? I mean, come on, they're in the business of making money. All right. So, I mean, if I was a company and I'm paying most of my revenue out on taxes, well, most of it, I would probably go over to China or, these up and coming developing countries and, put down my roots there. So I don't have to pay all these taxes here in the United States. I mean, it makes this to me as a business person that I would do that. I mean, just a food for thought type of thing, Some of his things that he was saying, I'm like, oh, Biden, I don't think that's pretty good. I don't think that's a good idea. No. Trump had a good point when Biden brought that up. He was like, well, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that because and he was right on that issue. I can give him that. Yes, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate because, you have to choose the lesser of the two evils. Did I just put up three fingers? But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying who I'm voting for. The day is coming up, and it's just, it is another thing that's coming up in Illinois, this fair tax thing. Okay, now let's get to the fair tax thing. So, my good friend, he was telling me about, do you know what this fair tax thing is going to do? And I said, no, not really. Because all I've been hearing on TV is like, let the wealthy pay their fair share, let the rich pay their fair share, this and that and the third, which coming off of that, and that's all you hear, and you be like, yeah, let them pay their fair share. We've been paying more than them and all this time. Then he kind of like broke it down in little pieces for me. He said, okay, say for instance, if you're paying 4% off of your salary or whatever like that, say you make, what? $400. Say you make $400. Okay. All right. So say the taxes is 10%. All right. So if I'm making $400 and my taxes is 10%, what? I'm giving up $40. All right. $40. Say the big people, the big corporations, they got to pay 10% too. But they made what? 2.5 million. So 10% of 2.5 million is way more than my $40. So aren't they already paying their fair share, so to speak? But it's a glitch to that fair share tax. This is the glitch. Imposing the fair tax legislation, or whatever you want to call it. There's stipulation that you're not protected. Us, we're not protected as far as a cap on what they can do with our taxes. So what I'm saying is that if we vote yes on the fair tax thing, then the government, the legislation, Illinois, whatever, they have the right to go up on our taxes as they see fit, whenever they want to, however they want to, because that's not stipulating the fair tax thing. They got it wide open. Or if you vote yes for it, yeah, you might, it probably will go down that first year. But you know how Illinois always talking about they in a deficit, like they're in a deficit right now? You know what they're gonna do? Oh, we're in a deficit. We can raise this tax because you voted that said that we can do it. So now instead of you don't went down 2% this first year, but we're gonna hike it right back up another 5% next year. And you can't do nothing about it because you voted this in. So that makes you wonder, am I protected in the long run? No, I'm not. In the short run, yes. In the long run, no. In the long run matters more to me than in the short run, because I want to be secure years from now, not just for today. And that kind of makes you wonder a little bit. I don't know about this fair tax thing. I got a couple of more days to kind of let it make it marinate in my unsha na 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 na. So I think I'm gonna do that and see. You know what? I don't even know who I'm gonna vote for until I go in the booth and start voting. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know when it comes to the president, yeah, I mean, you have to take it in stride. You vote for two of the lesser evils. And some of the things that Trump have said during his 4 year and the tweets and all of that, it's not a good look. It's not a good look for the president at all. Not very presidential. It's not diplomatic. It's not in. It's just not. And then you got Biden. It seemed like at any moment, if he didn't mean he's gonna nod off. I don't know. I don't know. Can we bring Obama back? Probably not. But then Obama really didn't do too much either. He did a lot for for them. But I don't know. I don't know. It's like that. It's like, what do you do? It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So I don't know I don't know what to do. Um, um, I'm like, you probably have a lot of people say, just vote for Biden because we got to get Trump out of office because he's just horrible. Yeah, he's pretty much is horrible. Yeah, and some of the things he say, and I just never, I have never seen. I yeah, I'm at a loss for words right now because I have never seen a president that was just so out of tune, out of touch, out of everything. And this man, even if he don't get back in office again, he's going to be taken care of for the rest of his life. By who? By me and you. So if all his businesses fold tomorrow and he don't win the election, we're gonna be taking care of him for the rest of his life. Anyway, he was once the president of the United States. He's set. And you have to think that really have to think that into consideration too. Like, he already has money. He already has businesses. I have businesses. I have businesses. He has businesses everywhere. And if none of that works out, he's still going to be taken care of for the rest of his life. So you have to take that into consideration. Like, do he really care about me? Do he really care about me? Or is he just in it for himself? Now, come on, let's be honest. Everybody in politics, in one way or another, are in it for the bag. Come on, let's get serious with it. You in it for the bag. I don't know about, I can maybe name one politician out of my 50 years here on this earth that probably wasn't in it for the bag and either they died or got assassinated. So, I mean, Kennedy, no, you ain't in it for the bag, Kennedy. So you ain't playing by the rules. So you gotta go, bro. And then there was Harold Washington that died of a heart attack. I really don't think he was in it for the bag either. I mean, I'm the only two people that I really can name out of all the politicians. Everybody, politicians are always led. They always have a puppeteer behind them. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Biden, Trump. You got these supporters and these people that them gave you all this money. So you got to lean towards them in some type of way, in some type of capacity. So therefore, you always somebody's puppet. The way it go, you always somebody's puppet. I don't care who you are. You're going to be somebody's puppet. Hey, I give you this bag if you do X, Y, and Z. So my friend, he's really into the politics thing. He loves talking politics and all this and all that. So I asked him, have you ever thought about running for aldermen in your community or whatever the case like that? He was like, oh, no. No, really, whatever. I don't know. I said, so if you did, what would be your platform? He came up with a platform right on top of his head. Like I'm like, so you have thought about it. He was like, well, no, that's just common sense to me. Oh, just common sense to you. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna ask anybody who they're gonna vote for. I'm not going to ask you to chime in on it. I'm not going to ask you to give your opinion about it because your vote is your vote. That's your privacy. You don't tell anybody who you vote for. I'm going to vote for the lesser of the two evils. I guess there's some good in some people or some. There's some good in Trump. I haven't seen it yet, but there's some good in him somewhere. I mean, he did, what he did for the HBCUs. Yeah, he did that. But I kind of like broke that down to where you kind of see that he really didn't do anything out of the ordinary. He just saved them a plane ticket. Um, yeah, I'm afraid if Biden get in there, he's gonna sleep through all of the meetings and he's not gonna know about anything. And if he stay woke and you ask him, what happened in the meeting, he gonna forget because that dementia gonna be kicking in a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. It's easy to some because everybody really wants Trump out of that office, because his track record is pretty much fucked up in a sense. So, his rhetoric and all of this and how he runs his rallies, but the one thing about Biden that kind of struck a chord with me, even after the debates and everything like that, and the little snippets that I've seen of him on his campaign trail and going to these different states and campaigning, he's always harping on COVID and how Trump handled COVID. Okay, we see the results of how Trump handled COVID. We see the outcome of that. I just don't feel like that should be your whole platform when you're running for president. Okay, you could mention a little of that in the snippet every now and then, but get down to what you really want to do, not what Trump hasn't done or haven't done or is not going to do or didn't handle. Let's focus on what you're going to do. Let me hear more about what you're going to do if you win in 2020. Let me hear that. When you take office, what are you going to do? Okay, we all know what Trump did, doing, done, hasn't done, not going to do. We all really know about all his rhetoric and all of that. Let's hear what you're going to do, Biden. I still haven't heard it yet, but, you know, will Biden be as bad as Trump? I don't think so and the only reason why I say I don't think so is because Biden has been into politics a lot longer. So he has a lot of experience under his belt as far as being in government and all that type of stuff. And Trump don't. So that's the only leg up I think Biden has. I don't know how Biden was in the Senate or how he ran his state wherever he came from. I don't know. I don't really know all about his track record, but Trump has a pretty small, whoever is marketing for him for his campaign, because I seen a commercial today and it was one of his campaign messages and he was talking about Biden and it was a snippet where Biden was in the house making his spiel on, we should lock them up and we should, I don't want them around my uncles and my grandparents and my mother. We should lock them up and all this type of stuff. And then after he was saying all that, the commercial was like, everybody knows who he's talking about. It was a black voice, and he just showed all African American males just popping up on the screen. We all know who Biden was talking about. Wow, I think that was very powerful. I mean, to have that on your mind when you go into vote, especially African American males who they're saying they need them to come out and really vote and give their voice as well. To hear that resonating in your mind as you go into making these decisions of who's going to be the next president, that was powerful. I had to give it to this market. I got to give it to his campaign people. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. But still, you had to vote on the lesser of the two evils. Now, I don't know about what Trump is going to do with the judicial system and this policing and all of that. I think from what he's been doing in the past, if he does get back in there, I think he's going to keep it on the state level and let the state handle that type of stuff. He's not going to get involved, let the city and all them handle their own, how they police their own people and stuff. But you still need some type of federal policy to kind of like trickle down with that. So, and Biden needs to do the same thing, there needs to be some reform in that area. I don't think defunding the police is going to work. I think what really is going to work is not overfunding the police, putting them in positions where they really shouldn't be, like in our schools. But that's another whole stuff story. Like, why are the police in the schools? Like, why? I mean, right now, no one is in school. So why do they still have a contract with CPS to be in the schools and there's nobody in school? Interesting. But they have a $13 billion contract. But I thought Chicago was in a deficit. How is that working? I'm not understanding that. It's the bag. It's the bag. That's all I got for you, people. I'm just going to go in there on the 3rd and, you know, do what I have to do as my right to do, as my ancestors have given their blood and their life and their sweat and tears for me to be able to do. So I will do that regardless, my vote, my voice. That's what I'm going to do. I hope you all do the same thing. And I'm going to leave you with this. When I was on my way to pick up my son, the thing that I saw that was posted on this, it was posted on the side of this building. Hey, Jeffrey, how are you? It said, and it couldn't have been said more eloquently than it was said, but it says, fuck talking, go vote. Couldn't have said it better. And on that note, peace.